My name is Ottar Kvinnesland. I think it's fair to say that I'm a fairly independent consultant. I've done quite a lot of HighStage work. Background within computing science. I've been installing, implementing, and helping to implement HighStage on a number of sites. And what I'm sort of invited to talk about today is configuration management. This is the Airbus A380. It's a very large aircraft. They spent millions of man-hours to make it. It took many, many years for the first one, and then surprisingly it took a lot of years to make the second one. And there are lots of reasons for that. And if you read up on the literature, it's basically become a very important sort of failed project. It was almost going very badly. What they managed to struggle with was to configure it for the next customer. So they made a design that was difficult to change. And I don't like to see any of you guys having the same problem. So configuration management is, let's have a specification to it. And that is a managed and a planned process. So you have your parts structure, and that would be one product. But the configuration management is a way that you manage the design or the delivery in such a way that the customer can choose what they want. So you're able to meet the expectations from the customers. And that implies both a design part, because you design what the customers are allowed to change, and it's a customer part and also manufacturing part. So we go through all this. These are a couple of cars, and after Henry Ford we could choose the color, you can choose the fabric in the seats, etc., etc., etc. So, well, HighStage is a very good start for you. I think most of you guys are using docs in HighStage, which is not configuration management. We've seen a lot of examples on actions, processes, workflow. Some of you may be using parts. This is your design. So you make your rig, your equipment in parts, and that would be a structure. Now, a very few use devices. The devices, I'll talk more about that this afternoon, but the devices is describing each unit you're sending out into the market. That's the device. The part is the design that you have at home. So what HighStage is there are some shortcomings, and that is managing configurations. That is not implemented. And when you can't manage the configurations in the design, nor can you manage or meet in HighStage the user options. You can't provide the service for the user option. And then when you don't have any of those, then you can't have these big data, the deep learning, and all that jazz with the empirical data that will enable you to reconfigure your product to be even more relevant to your customers. So the good news is this, that we extended the lines of the docs and actions. We got the parts, exactly as you had before. Now we've introduced configs. So the config is a base type. It will link in to references between subparts. It doesn't go straight to the part, because like one part can be used several places in the part tree, but it's on one particular location in your part tree that you want to offer the customer a chance to opt in or out of that subpart. So these configs is something the design people in R&D will set up for you. I wouldn't be surprised if they will do that in cooperation with the product management. They tend to have an interest in it, but it's a part of the design. Now, the next one is actually the options. That's out there in the Wild West where the customers are. The customers will opt in and out of the various configuration you provide. And when you have the options, you can make the devices. Actually, you can get the customer in to get the options, then you can buy the devices to make your product, and then you have a 60-day payment. So you can actually deliver the devices to the customer, and then you can pay your contractors after. That is nice. So that's all sales and delivery, and a little bit of clever logistics. Now, I'm going to give you some demos on this. So I will show you how to set up an order, not for your suppliers, but how the customer can define what they want to buy. And I would show you how they can select the options in and out of the options, and they will submit that to the company. So there you are. The customer is sort of bringing their wishes to you. And then you as a company will be allowed to review it. Do we trust this guy? Do we want to sell to him? Have we got the stuff? And then we can ship all the order to the manufacturing, and then at some point we have to assign the devices from the options. So what the customer wanted, we need to provide some way of allowing him to get it. And after lunch, I'm going to show you how you can bring this all the way through with the logistics of it. And that is in the manufacturing plant, where the procurement and goods arrival, we were going to talk about the ERP and PLM, and we're going to make the thing. So I will show you a little factory. So yes, this is the cockpit of the A380, as you recognize. So this is a HighStage site on a small virtual server that I got here. So as you see here to the right, there is all the usual stuff, but there are a couple of new ones: options and configs. And then let me just show you here that you would have in a real thing. So now, options and configurations is actually hugely complex, but we made it simple. So we start here with the sales. So we wait a bit with the configuration. We're going to make an order based on some configurations. So I create the order, and here it's a Tesla Model S. No, it's a Leicester Model 5 you can buy. And it's no prices, so it's probably either very cheap or very expensive. I create an order, and clicking that one, it worked. Now, you see here on the top there is a configuration called Nav, Com, and Entertainment. And what can I choose? I can have a phone connection, I can have a surround system, I can have a DAB radio, I can have maps of Asia or Africa, or maybe both, and I can have a Bluetooth connect. So that is the menu I can choose. And it's a minimum 0, maximum 6. So I can choose any number of these choices. Now, below that, there is a battery. So I can choose 150 kilowatt or 75 kilowatt. I have to choose one. I cannot choose two. And below here, I can choose the color. And I have to choose one. Yeah, transparent is not there. So yeah, I got to choose a color. And I also can choose the window elevator. I can have an electric one, or I can have a mechanical one. So let's just get on with it. So I can have a phone connection, and I can have maps of Africa. So now I picked out two. That's all I can afford, I think. But I go for a big battery since I'm going to Africa. And it changed color. This is style sheets, of course. So all this is styled. My ability to make something that looks very sort of pleasing visually is not fully developed. But if you got people who are really good at styling, you're going to win. Next one. In Africa, you always go for green. So I'll pick that. And then I got another gray one, so I can't have more colors. But I also go for a mechanical window elevator because you never know how it is down there. Now, I've configured the whole thing. This is what I want. This is exactly what you find on BMW.com, on Tesla.com. You find it Audi. Like, this is how the car manufacturers work. So next thing here is to complete the order. Now, this is just a form. So I can put in my name here. So I could also put in my phone number and address and all that. It could be secret, I don't know. I haven't got the time. I just submit the order. So when I submit the order, then I'm going to actually submit the order to the company. What is the company doing? It's going to look at my order and say, do we know this Johnny? Do we think he can afford this thing? Are we wasting our time on him? Do we have the parts? They're going to do a review. Maybe they're even going to do an approval. So there we are. We can see what is review orders. Here is Johnny. He's bought a Leicester. Let's have a look at him. so this is Johnny Livingston. He's loaded with cash, no problem. All these things here we have. Now, we wanted green. We're getting 3 greens. Well, Johnny didn't know that. But we know that there are 2 doors and a body that needs to be painted green. So that's why it's 3 greens. So there is some magic down below here. There are configuration management that will take for the various components and substructures. It's all there. Now, that's good. We accept that. So here we are. It's all done. So we can go into the manufacturing, and we can go into the production planning, and we can look here on Johnny Livingston's assigning devices to him. Now, his order has been approved. We have now the options. He reported in. He's put in some options that came from the configurations, were made available for the configurations. Now we can't sell him options. He gave us options. We need to deliver devices. It is complex, I know that, and it's soon lunch. Let's just assign a couple of devices. I'm just going to show you how it's working. So this is another one with the great forms and great colors, and here are all the parts, all the options that is chosen. Now we have to select a device for it. So we can see here on the nav, Com Entertainment is a phone connect. We just assign devices. Here's a list of devices. They're all status 5. They're all approved. No problem. We just assign that one. So there we are. He's got it. He's got his phone connection system with his name on. So that's there now. Now, there are many ways of doing manufacturing. We will talk about that later on. But I just wanted to do it like that for the demonstration now. Then, of course, you go through this and you assign all the devices. You got the name of the guy who's having the product here. Sometimes you want in the production cell to assign at the production cell. There is no problem to do that, but it's a mess to demonstrate it. So how you organize your manufacturing is also a way of doing it. So this is really it. Let me just show you how the configurations work. Now, I'm going to show you a tree menu that show the structure of the parts, and I'll show you the configurations inside, how that's done. And that is a tree menu never seen before, but a few of you in Norway. So this is how it looks like. So this is the Leicester Model 5, and we just roll in. You see the drive line there, the E104. It is deviceable. It contains a battery, a motor, and a second battery. That is in the parts tree. That is in the part structure. But the configuration, it's actually a link in the configuration of the references, which is called section 100. Section 100. So these are configurations that are placed in. We'll have a look at them straight away. I hope I'm not causing you too much trouble. Okay, give me a few more seconds. So here we got these selections. It's a base type config. And we can look at the reference list. And this configuration is used in the reference between the driveline and the 150 kilowatt battery. It's also used in the reference between the driveline and the 75 kilowatt reference. So if you have another 75 kilowatt battery that you ship with all customers, you place that, the same battery, another part, and another node in the parts tree, but that will not be configurable. So you can manipulate it as well. So yeah, that's really it, I think. So I'm open to questions. Oh, that was well done. Now?